Hey there, spirits, and welcome back to the graveyard. My name's Soul, and this is my ghost friend, Art.
Ooh, mushrooms. May I help myself?
Have you ever thought, man, what if I drew a month's worth of mushrooms? Well, neither have I, but this lovely artist Feefal did, and made a whole month drawing challenge around the whole idea in February and called it Funguary. Well, I participated in that challenge this year, but was only able to make shroom for 4 art pieces, 1 piece per week. And an extra 3D mushroom for my 3D modeling 2023 resolution this year. Yes, this video is full of mushroom puns, and there's a lot spore where that came from. Each week, I would look at all of the mushrooms in the prompt and picked one that I thought was the most interesting. And okay, you must be thinking, Shiitake too much. Put a cap in it, and where's the art? So let's just jump right into the drawings. First up is the Pixie Parasol. I loved how shiny and beautiful the cap on this one was. Plus, blue is kind of my favorite color. It reminds me of hand-blown glass faces. I decided I was going to make this one a glass blower that makes its new caps for its mushroom folk. I wonder if baby mushrooms have to keep buying the next size up when they grow out of it. Kinda like people and their shoes? Probably, right? That way, these fun guys can keep in business. I wonder, would they pass their hand-me-downs to their siblings or some kind of mushroom thrift shop? I don't know, I'm going too far down into the rabbit hole. I also really loved the way these mushrooms looked from the top view, kind of like an eyeball, and I definitely wanted to include that into the design, so I added the glass ball that was being blown with the eye shape on it. And when I started this challenge, I wasn't really sure about how I wanted these mushrooms to look, so this guy was a little bit less humanoid than the rest of my pieces that are going to be coming up, but I enjoyed having his little arms and legs being like little stumps. And with all of these pieces, I wanted to include a background to have them more grounded in reality, kind of like they were actually living in the spaces that they would naturally grow in. So I would make sure to do research on where these mushrooms would grow in nature and try to have the drawing match those kind of spaces. The second mushroom I picked is the Cythyrella aquatica. Cythyrella aquatica. Oh man, I should have really looked up how to say this before recording. This is how you actually say it.
Cythyrella aquatica.
Okay, so by the time this mushroom came around, I was already a couple days into my anatomy practice, so I decided that I was going to make my mushrooms a little bit more humanoid from here forward, and started to use human poses for references. Sorry, Pixie Parasol, but I guess you're just gonna be a little fungi guy. I wanted to start reading up on how these mushrooms survived in the wild to determine how I would draw them. And because of this, I learned a lot about these mushrooms, and I think I made my mushroom folk into really interesting characters that I wouldn't have thought of on my own. Plus, it kind of grounds them into their jobs and also how they look. Anyways, let me tell you about this mushroom. This is the first reported gill species of mushrooms that can survive underwater. And it was only discovered recently, like 2005, in the Rogue River in Oregon, USA. It's said that less than 1% of aquatic fungi have been discovered, and very few of those produce fruiting bodies. The spores on this mushroom are released into the bubble of air that is stored under the mushroom cap before floating up to the surface to spread and regrow. So with all that information, I wanted to do a scuba diver type of mushroom. I really like that it's stored an air bubble under its cap, kind of like a helmet of air. I had this idea that this little mushroom would hang out in the river and feed and play with the fish. I would think that it would be in charge of keeping the river clean and the fish safe, kind of like an environmental activist with very strong morals. The Tetrapyrgos was the third mushroom that I picked. I picked this one out of the prompt specifically based on its appearance. Something about the black stem to white cap gradient was very bold and eye-catching. This mushroom grows almost from nothing, aka it doesn't really need any soil. It directly inserts its substrate into things like twigs and oak leaves and grows just off of those nutrients. So I definitely had to include a twig or oak leaf somehow. Hence why this little one is pulling a sick move on an oak leaf ride. I imagine these mushrooms are like the skaters, snowboarders of the mushroom world, an adrenaline junkie, if you will. I imagined that they would climb to the tops of the trees, jump off the high branches so they could do tricks as they float down to the forest floor. Then they would just climb back up and do it all over again. They would probably always be coming up with new moves and challenging their other mushroom folk to out-trick them in a game of horse. I definitely think these mushrooms would get into a lot of truffle. The last mushroom art piece that I did is the chanterelle?
Chanterelle.
Anyways, this mushroom was under the friendly mushroom category. The golden chanterelle is the most popular wild edible mushroom. It is known worldwide by the culinary world and can be identified by its thick edge ridges and apricot scent. And I do say ridges instead of gills because if you find a mushroom that looks like this one with gills, it's actually poisonous and you shouldn't eat it. Based off of this description, I felt this mushroom would be a little Pompous Prince. It knows it's popular, it smells amazing, it's golden, and with a name like that, it just screamed royalty. Hence the stance and the ruffled accents. A real golden boy. I wanted this pose to be a little condescending and looking down on the viewer. Kinda like he's mansplaining something you brought up in a conversation that he clearly knows more about. He'd probably grow spored of your insufferable conversations. As soon as I saw the tall ridges on this mushroom, I thought they looked like those ruffled collars 17th century royals would wear. And what's a collar without matching ruffled sleeves? The tops of these mushrooms were a beautiful golden color and had these rippling waves on them that reminded me so much of a disheveled prince's hair. I think it really fits him so well. And this snobby little mushroom really started to grow on me. And the last thing I did for the last day of February was my 3D model. And a little backstory on this 3D model, it was supposed to be my first 3D model of the year, but I think I went a bit too ambitious the first time around without ever having any 3D modeling experience, and I really couldn't figure out how to make it, and ended up going with an easier art model that I released back in January. But this worked out in my favor because of the mushroom theme I had for this month. This little guy is from an indie game called Ooblets that I've been playing over the past couple of weeks. This character's name is Shrumbo, and it was the Ooblet I started the game with, so he holds a special place in my heart. I'll probably be making a full review and art piece for this game in the future, so I won't go too much into the game here. So if you want to see that, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that video. Anyways, I don't have any footage of me really making this piece other than from this short video because I wasn't super confident with the 3D modeling program and I wasn't sure I could pull it off and I didn't really know how long it would take me. I used a program called Nomad Sculpt on the iPad, and if you want to see really great tutorial videos on how to use it, then I would suggest you check out Small Robot Studios on YouTube. I was using their cartoon character workflow video when I was creating this Shrumbo sculpt, and I learned so much from this video, and I'm really happy with how this sculpt turned out. The official Ooblets Twitter actually retweeted these posts, and they actually got a lot of traction. I think the difference from my first art sculpt to this second one is astronomical, and I actually feel like I kind of know what I'm doing in that 3D program now. And because I have a background in film, placing the lights for the render was really easy for me to make something that looked really beautiful. I am so proud of this series of mushrooms that I made over the past month, and I've gotten so much faster at drawing. I was able to complete the last mushroom in about 2 hours from concept to finished piece, which is unheard of for me. It's been really fun using this new art style and these texture brushes to achieve something so natural and gritty. It's like a step up evolution from my lineless art style that I've been working with. I have mushroom to improve on and create more things with this new art style that I've found. So go follow my social medias if you want to see those upcoming art pieces that I'm gonna come out with. And okay, I know these mushroom puns are starting to get mold, so if you liked the video, go ahead and stalk me by hitting that subscribe button and comment a mushroom pun below. Let's see if you can out-pun me. And until next time, spirits, see ya!